Oh, these are the greatest scissors. These are the greatest scissors in the world. Hey guys, welcome back. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on these really weird piping tips called Russian piping tips, and you guys went crazy for it. I think over 1 million people watched it in the course of a couple of weeks, which is a lot. So I asked you guys if you wanted me to use some of the other Russian piping tips, because there are several, and you all said yes. These are the ones that we used in the last video. You can check that video out if you want to see all of the flowers and tulips, but today we're using ball tips. Yeah, that's what they're called, Russian ball tips. If you guys have missed some of my updates, you might not know that I've recently launched a second channel for all craft, DIY, and really fun home ideas, as well as a few sweet treats with some of my friends. You can check out the sweeter side. It's relatively new and it's a little bit different to what we do here at MyCupcakeAddiction, but if you guys love all of this stuff, I'm sure you're gonna love everything over there. I've got a batch of my buttercream frosting and I've colored mine all sorts of colors. I've got some purple, some yellow, some blue, and some pink. And I've also just got some pre-made cupcakes. I'm going with a chocolate cupcake recipe. If you have my Sweet Celebrations cookbook, you can get both the frosting and cake recipes from there. Otherwise, I'll link to my YouTube videos for those down below. I ordered mine online and they came in this very sexy snap seal bag. No instructions, nothing else really with them. So you and I are gonna learn as we go. This is literally the first time I've opened them. Let's take a look and see what we get in the bag. So in this kit, I get 11 piping tips, which is just an annoying number for a baker because everything should either be 12 or 13. And I also get a coupler. I'm not gonna do all of these. I'm just gonna find a good cross section because I find there's basically 2 or 3 different types and then just different sizes in those. So we're gonna pick, this guy, he looks kind of, no, we'll do this guy, and this guy. It's like choosing my favorite children. These ones here I'm gonna put aside because they just look like variations on those other guys, but if you want me to make a video with those, I feel like it's gonna be much the same as this one, but let me know and I'm happy to. The coupler that came with these guys is actually like a little tricolor coupler, but if you don't have that, do not worry. It works just the same with a regular coupler or even just with a plain piping bag. So I'm gonna pick my first victim, this guy. Stick it on the end and add my coupler over top, screwing it on. To make multicolor frosting, I actually prefer it without these weird little frosting dividers because I think you get a really nice marbled effect if you don't keep the colors totally separate. So I've got my piping tip in my piping bag and I'm just gonna take a scoop of yellow and you'll see that I just kind of like wipe it off against my hand so that it stays on that side of the bag. Then we'll tilt the bag. Next to my yellow, I'm gonna put my blue because yellow and blue make green, so I should get a nice little combination of marbled color there. In it goes as far down as I can. The last color is the hardest. If anyone out there has OCD, you'll notice that all of my spatula colors are completely wrong for the colors of frosting. I apologize. Push that down a little. So with all these frostings, you want to try and keep them at about the same distance down the bag. And finally my pink. And for your last color, it's sometimes easier just to lay it on the bench. Scoop this one down. So now I'm gonna take those colors and I'm just going to kind of pat them around, but not too much, so they start to blend into each other a little bit. And then I'm gonna pipe a little bit out into this bowl so that I can A, do a little bit of swirl practice, but B, get rid of any single colors till I've got all of those colors coming through. Piping tip number 1 is gonna be this guy. So if I could describe it, it has like one of the widest openings, but it's the wavy one, not the straight one. I'm gonna take my cupcake and apparently with these, all you need to do is squeeze and twist, back and then forward and then back and then forward to create almost like this really cool ruffled, rippled high swirl. I don't know if this is a flaw in the design or if it's just a bonus opportunity for us, but they have like a hole in the end when you pull the piping tip away. I'm gonna add some mini M&Ms into my little frosting cavity in case of emergency. Fill hole with gumball? For my next swirl, instead of rocking back and forward, I'm gonna see what happens if I attach to the cupcake and then just swirl, twisting the cupcake just one way into kind of a high swirl. what we end up with is like a little tie-dyed single swirl effect, and it almost closes up that hole in the middle. If you have any issues with those little holes, I'm just gonna use a paintbrush to kind of coax the frosting into place. I don't think that one needs anything on top. And then finally, I'm gonna try like a really low swirl. So for this guy, again, always resting the ball of the piping tip in the center of the cupcake, I'm gonna twist it one way, kick back once, and then go back that first way again. But that's where I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna lift, I'm gonna keep it nice and low. This looks super cute too, again with that little hole in the middle, so let's top it with an M&M. There's always room for M&Ms. Piping tip number 1's awesome. I really like the different designs we got out of that, but I think it looks so cute with the rainbow frosting effect. Let's try this guy in the coupler. So this one here is a slightly narrower and it doesn't have the wave. I presume it's gonna do a very similar result, but it's only gonna have the 3 colors. So let's see the difference in marbling that frosting as opposed to having it come out separately in our 3 little compartments for our coupler. I'm gonna use 3 colors in this, so I'm going with purple, pink, and blue. Again with the ball from the piping tip in the center of the cupcake, and I'm gonna rock back and forward and back and forward, but keep this one quite nice and low. This is a pretty skinny opening in the end of this piping tip, so the leaves are really fine, but this looks a lot like a little flower. I'm gonna put another M&M over that hole in the middle. Some people might see a hole in the middle of cupcakes as a flaw, but I just see it as an opportunity to add candy. All right, number 3, this is the beauty of using a coupler. You just pop off the first piping tip and stick in the second piping tip and all of your frosting's ready to go. So this piping tip's pretty similar to the last one, but it's got a slightly fatter opening on the sides and it's got like a little star sort of opening for the frosting to come out the middle. So I'm wondering if this one won't have the hole in the center when we're done. Again, starting in the center of the cupcake, but don't press it into the cupcake or you'll get cupcake in the end of that tip and it won't let the frosting out. But I'm gonna rock back and forward while also lifting the piping bag to get kind of a high swirl. Getting the frosting on these is not the problem. Getting the piping tip out without making a mess of the frosting in the middle seems to be the issue. I still see the hole in the middle, so I'm not sure what the purpose for that little extra opening at the end of that piping tip is, but I like this style and I think with the slightly fatter opening, it gives us a nicer result. I'm gonna top that one with a little bit of rock candy, and for this, I want to try out, similar to the first lot of rushing piping tips, what happens if we just try to do like a dollop on a cupcake? No rocking, no swirling. It doesn't work. Dolloping on a cupcake does not work. This is not the best result, so I guess these ones are more for like the ruffly looking swirls. But we tried, right? So piping tip number 4 also has like a little star opening at the end, but it's got little ridges or ripples in the side opening, so it should give us a really nice textured design. For my frosting, I want this to be sort of a different effect. So I'm starting by just scraping blue frosting, a thin layering on the outside of the entire bag using my spatula. And then I'm gonna take some yellow and I'm kind of gonna apply that. So essentially I'm like painting the inside of the bag, but leaving the center free. Then you can take, I'm gonna use pink and just dollop it in the middle. So this is gonna be like mainly pink, but with those hints of blue and yellow, which will actually graduate to a greeny color on the outside. Let's see how this looks. All right, first up, I'm gonna try the high swirl. I'm super interested to see how this turns out. So I'm gonna rock back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And again, I'm lifting my piping tip as I go. That's what's gonna give us the height. I'm gonna try this again with the lower swirl and see how it looks. But instead of going back and forth this time, I start in the middle of the cupcake and I'm just gonna sort of twist the whole cupcake in the one direction, also while lifting my piping tip, which is kind of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time, but we can manage. This one I'm not such a fan of. I think it looks a little messy, but that could also just be the frosting colors. Honestly, not the nicest swirl I've seen, but I'm gonna top it with a gumball emoji anyway. Again, I want to attempt to just do a straight squeeze dollop with this piping tip just to see if it works. Nope. Nope, it does not work. All right. The straight dollop with the Russian ball tips is nowhere near as cute as the straight dollop with the flat Russian piping tips. This is the last tip that I'm going to try in this video, and this is similar to the last one, so it's got the ripples all around the outside edges, but the outside edge openings are a little bit bigger and there's no star at the end. I'm going all in for rainbow with this, so I'm just going to put in blobs of each of my color, and you'll notice that I sort of wipe them up against each side of the piping bag and then push them all down so they all get down to that piping tip at about the same time. Give it a little squeeze at the end to make sure you can see all the colors of your rainbow, and I'm going to try a couple of designs with this. So first up, I'm going to do a really low twist but I'm just gonna twist it once, and I'm not gonna go too crazy like I did with that last swirl. Oh, this looks really nice. Where the frosting's pulled away, we've actually got these almost little, I don't know what you call them, like overlapping wave type designs. You can use a paintbrush to neaten it up if you need to, and I'm gonna put a bit of pink rock candy in the middle of that one. That's actually really pretty and really unusual. But for my second one, I'm gonna do a low back and forward. So similar to the first one that I did with the first tip, you just wanna attach in the middle and then rock back and forward and back and forward. Ooh, this one's really pretty. This one's actually really pretty. I'm still getting the hole in the middle, so I'm gonna put just a purple M&M in there, but this is actually possibly my favorite design of all of these Russian ball piping tips. I don't know if it's just the color, but it's gorgeous. Finally, I'm gonna try the high back and forward frosting again. So again, I'm just gonna attach at the middle, and then I'm gonna rock back and forward at the same time as I'm lifting that piping tip away from the cupcake to get height. Oh, this is pretty too. Oh yeah, this one is my favorite piping tip. The ripply one with no star in the end is absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna use the paintbrush just to neaten up the top so I don't have to put anything on top of this one. But these three designs, this piping tip is hands down my absolute favorite. That's the end of the ball tips. And just between you and I, in my opinion, compared to those flower ones, I don't know if these are necessarily worth the investment as a whole extra set, but I guess they do a slightly different effect. Let me know what you thought down below. Let me know if you're thinking about purchasing the ball tips. And I believe there's also a set of super sharp pointy ruffle tips in this set. So I'm gonna film something with those, give you my honest opinion, and we'll see if they're worth the effort. Definitely Russian piping tip set number one. The flat ones, on the ball tips. And who knows about those pointy ones. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We upload new videos every week. If you haven't already checked out my second channel, The Sweeter Side, I do tons of crafts over there and would love to see you guys stop by. Have an awesome day, guys, and thanks very much for watching.